Okay, so I literally just filmed my last video right there about why we don't put the finisher knot in after the figure eight. We'll see which video comes out first here, but I just gave myself away. But I realized I don't even have a video talking about how to tie a figure eight clean and well dressed to the standard, so I should probably just do that right now. I'm going to show you guys the way that I teach people how to do this and what I've been doing for a bunch of years now. If you have other ways, well, there's a million other ways to do this. So if you're a climbing gym instructor or a guide or something, you should comment, and I would like to see your way of teaching people, but this is just the way that I like doing it. And so start with just holding that end of the rope right here, grab it with one hand, and you can pull it from your chest to your arm length right here. For most adults, it's about all you need. And then with this end right here, I'm still holding this end with my right hand, but my left hand, I have this bend right here. I'm going to twist once towards myself and then again towards myself. So that way I make a little loop right there, and I can bring this end through the back of that loop. You see that's back according to myself. And then if I hold the end and drop it, it makes a figure eight. You may notice that it does depend on which way you twist this little loop right here. If I twist towards myself, like I said, twice, then I go through the back. However, if I start back here again and I twist away from myself the other way, which I guess that would be this way is clockwise, and so if I twist counterclockwise once and then twice, now I'm going to go through the front of the loop to make the figure eight. I don't care which way you twist it, just as long as you get the figure eight. Be careful of getting one too many twists. That knot looks like this. We call that one the figure 9. If you do one too little twist, you get an overhand right here. So that obviously doesn't look like an 8. So easy solve for any of those is you take the end out and then pass it one more time around in order to make one more twist, or the other way around to make one less twist. Or the easy way is just untie it and start over. So right here, then I twist once towards, twice towards, and then in through the back. So now that also gives me a decent amount of tail. Maybe I'll actually add a bit more there. So there we go. That's probably about, yeah, that's about from my chest to my arm right there. And so that's about all the tail I use for many ropes. If you climb at a gym with like those fat gym ropes, you may want to add a little bit more. Also depends on the size of your body. But now I guess I'll shift it down to crotch view so you can see my harness. Okay, so on the harness now we're going to talk about threading this tail through my 2 points. You can see this big loop right here. This is called the Belay Loop. We don't use that, but it's supported by these 2 loops here, the bottom loop and this upper loop. So what I'm going to do is take the end of the rope and pass it through that bottom loop and then up through the upper loop, lining up with this big vertical loop right here. You'll also notice pretty much every harness on the market has this little thing. It's called a keeper strap, and you do not want to place the rope underneath that strap right there, like so that way it's pulling on the strap. And then you also don't want to do, how do people do it, something like this. So you can see how now my bottom tie-in loop is not even being engaged, it's just the keeper strap. So this thing is just there to keep the rope centered in this part. So you got to pass it in towards yourself and then up through the top one. Make sure that the rope is in that little triangle right there. Okay, on to the real meat of the video. So there's a number of ways how to tie this knot clean and well dressed the first time. Generally what I'm going to do is, you can see how this rope coming from my harness goes into the right side of the knot, as in the right side. If I do the little thing right here, oh, this is left, so this is my right hand. So right side of the knot, as opposed to it going into the left side of the knot. And I know this is a video and it's all mirrored and stuff. This is easier to do in real life, but video is all I got right now. So to the right side of the knot, and you'll notice how this loop right here is above this strand coming from my harness. If I tied the knot the other way and this loop was below, all that it means is it just depends on where I put the end through. So if this coming from my harness goes in underneath this loop, and I want to parallel this right strand, that's how I start. And what I can do is, this is the final trick to get the knot clean your first time, is I'm actually going to push this to the side and then pass this rope up through that, the end up through that. Some people call that going through the hard way, which makes sense, right? Because I have this really easy way I can go through, but I don't want the easier way. I want to push this to the side and go through the hard way. All right, as far as like pulling the rope into your harness, there's any number of preferences there. One thing we want to avoid is having the knot super far away. Having it, the rope loop here at least the same size as your belay loop is good. I think I actually tend to go a little bit tighter. But yeah, just keep that loop small. The easy way to keep that loop small is you just pull this all the way in. All right, so a little zoomed in now. So I had that first move, right? One more time. This is important. Push this strand to the side, go in on the hard way. And now it gets a bit more intuitive. I'm just going to trace this knot. You see how it goes underneath this strand? So it goes underneath, around, and down through this lower section right there. And when I pull the rope tight, I only pull it so that way it's uniform shape with the knot. If I pull too far, then this happens and things get a lot more confusing. So don't pull any tighter than just keeping the rope in line with itself. So you'll notice that it's kind of a pattern, right? I go through something, go around, go through. So now I'm going to go around. And right now that the rope is looking like this, so I have to parallel this loop right here over everything, and then I'm going to trace it back up through here. And you'll notice how, same deal, I could push the strand to the side and come up right here, or I could just go up through the obvious hole right there. So that's where that axiom comes in. Start hard, finish easy. So instead of going through the hard way on the way out, like so, then the knot looks a little not quite as clean. I'm going to just go through the easy way out. And then I have my figure eight. At this point, since I gave myself a massive tail, I can just work that tail back through the knot. This takes practice. So if you gave yourself that massive tail, it's better to have too much than too little at this point. But I can clean up my knot. The way how I know my knot is clean and well dressed is it looks like 3D symmetrical, you can see. And a lot of times, actually, this is very common for for people learning how to tie their knot. It looks like this. You can see how it looks flower. I don't know, for some reason I think about that as a flower. So this is a super common way to, or result of tying your knot the way I showed you. And the easy way to make it clean is you just take this top part and flip it down, and so now it's loose, and then you pull one of these bottom strands. And you see how I just tightened that up? So that's like the final step, sometimes if you don't compensate for that beforehand, of getting a clean and well-dressed knot. And then the way I can check this knot is you start right here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Go on to the other side, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You do want to check both sides. You can tie a knot with 10 on one side and 9 on the other. And then as far as tail, however much tail your gym or your club says to have, or if you have to add that finisher knot because they haven't updated anything, then do that. But that is the clean and well-dressed knot. It looks 3D symmetrical. Every strand right here, I pull these 2 bottom strands, I can pull these 2 top strands, and it's nice and tight. A number of times anyone who likes to have a bit of space in their knot like this, it's just not tight enough, and when it does tighten, some strands can be left out. So that's why it's important to tighten all of the strands, all 4 of them, in order to make it nice, clean, tight, and well dressed. It's better to have your knot not too tight than too loose. So for the sake of going through the full partner checks, we can start with the harness, make sure that this buckle is done right. If I had leg loop buckles, then I'd deal with that. If these are all double back buckles, you gotta make sure about that. Go in, make sure you have your 2 tie-in points. Then you can go in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 10, or 5 sets of parallel lines, whatever way you want to think about it. Clean and well dressed knot, and then the tail, however much tail you deem is acceptable. So that is the full partner check. So the last thing I want to do in this video is just run through the whole knot the way I would tie it, just so that way you guys have another way of seeing it. Yeah, and I'm just going to go at my own speed, so. And there we have it. All right, so thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned a little something. It's a bit more of a baseline remedial skill, but I actually don't have too many videos about this. So if you want to see more videos, maybe I'll make one about loading an ATC or belaying. Those wouldn't be bad videos to have on my channel. And I just will go through and talk about the different ways that I like to teach them and like to do them. But even that, they are pretty much the same as the industry standard. But if you guys do want to see a bit more of those remedial skills, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you do anything different, or if you like to do the whole, like, you know, make the alien, strangle it, poke it in the eye. I'm sure that's how a lot of people learned how to tie that original figure eight or whatever, but it's always nice to see these skills that are taught so often, how different people teach them, because the skills that are taught more often usually have a larger amount of ways how you can teach them. So I do want to see those. And then, yeah, see you guys in the next video. Anyone want the speed challenge? Time. I don't think that was my best speed challenge either.